welcome back to the RationInvestor.com Broiler Chicken Show. Trade your trading plans. Don't take too much risk on any one trade, and just let yourself get rich. Hello, welcome back to the RationInvestor.com's Broiler Chicken Show. Probably just did a repeat of the soundbite, but was so impressed with Chris taking the initiative and getting that intro going. Thank you very much, Chris. Totally awesome. If it takes us a month or so of doing these once a week or so to get it looking totally spit polished, so be it. But hey, look at that. Adam says, slick intro. Well, thank you, Adam. If anything, maybe we got to up our game a little bit. I noticed that YouTubers and all that kind of stuff, man, they're really getting production quality in this social media stuff. So we're taking it to the next level. Anyway, sure hope you enjoyed that, and hopefully it just becomes a regular thing. We're still kind of we're getting our feet solidified. I don't know, grounding, whatever you want to call it, on Discord. And as a result, we're trying to do like sort of people in the live room like we used to do with the Hangouts. Did notice Discord likes to have a little sound bite every time people join and leave. So we may not have actually people in the room in the future. But if you hear the little blip, 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 that's Discord having fun with us. Also, too, I did notice, for whatever it's worth, like I said, we're just trying to get this new format up and running. I am running the Discord desktop app. So I've noticed actually a couple times Discord just crashes out of nowhere. So if I happen to just poof, I go. It's because Discord didn't really like me. And what's weird is it crashes and then it loads right back up. So I'm not quite sure. Maybe it's a hardware issue on my part. Well, the computer seems to be fairly happy these days. And we'll just muddle our way through. Today is an interesting day, being the first week of May. I guess the first official Sunday of May. I'm actually not quite sure. Is Mother's Day this Sunday or is Mother's Day next Sunday? Is it the 14th? I can't remember. Today might have been Mother's Day. If that's the case, oh boy, once I'm done here, I better send a note back east. But I think Mother's Day is next weekend, isn't it? Can anybody confirm for me? Holy, Brian's out of the loop. Sjord says, I hope next, LOL. Okay. Maybe you can change room settings to disable ding-dongs. Yeah, no. I'm not quite sure. Somebody says Brian has to change his notification settings. All right, so I don't think it's me because Chris is actually driving the bus here, right? I'm just a participant. So I think it's probably Chris that has to. But nonetheless, welcome back to the show. See, you can hear the bloops and blobs. Oh, there's another one. I have a feeling for the next couple hours we're going to be going through this. So, anyway. Anyway, as I was pointing out, I kind of got distracted about that Mother's Day reference. Anyway, we do have our new school term starting shortly. And as you can see, TRI School is now open. Click here to join. Registration window here closes in the next day or two. I suppose, if you're like, oh, wow, we totally wanted to get in. We missed the deadline. I mean, I'm sure we could probably work something with you. As well, too, we had a special discount for the people that work with the Hero Exchange. And actually, I had a really fun conversation with them the other day. I went on one of their podcasts. It was actually a really enjoyable time. And actually, interestingly enough, I was quite surprised by this. But of course, Colin is a TRI OG. and he comes on the TRI site and does Friday presentations as well. But I really thought it was kind of cool. One of his buddies, the guy who is right here to my left, I think his screen name is like Jedi or something like that. He actually did the level 1 program as well. So it was kind of like a warm, receptive environment. I think both Colin and Jedi, I'm almost positive that's his screen name. I can't see because of this nonsense. But both of them were very complimentary of the education program, and they speak to their community about sort of setting yourself up to run your small business of trading, and the virtues of the education program. So super stoked about that. And this is a good sort of backdrop. Sort of what are you getting involved in if you really want to live this life of a trader? So point of the matter here is every term we like to give away a seat to the school program, karma and all that kind of stuff. So to that end, we do a raffle, and obviously it's a bit late to join the raffle now. But if I'm not mistaken, I've been showing you this page, and in future terms, if you are interested, by all means, pop on in and enter the raffle. So those people that did, we have a raffle wheel spin we're going to do at the end of the broadcast today. So I've asked Chris to remind me at around, as you can see, it's about 10:47 here. Let's say by 12:30 or so, we should probably do the raffle. And then that way we know that it's done, and we can make sure Brian's on the road in time for little Lily. Little Lily's not so little anymore, 22 years old, but still calls me daddy. So what the hell? If I'm still daddy after 22 years, he can still be Lily. Anyway, and actually that was JoJo's favorite pet name for her son. So I still like to call him that. Anyway, God rest your soul, JoJo. I love you. Anybody who's on the site now, these weekend shows, of course, they're really kind of just supposed to be like an interactive experience with the audience, and more importantly, especially when crypto's going absolutely crazy there. Usually in those kind of environments, the public's coming piling in, and of course, they always chase the buying top of the market. Maybe if they're lucky, they banged out a Pepe coin or two, and they're feeling pretty good about things, and they say, "Well, what the hell? Maybe I'll spend a couple bucks and go learn how these old gnarly veteran guys actually do this, running small businesses of trading and all that kind of fun stuff." So in those kind of environments, our school programming, it's an absolute zoo. We need like an instructor for the program. Then we need like multiple TAs. And if you've got like 100 students in there, then you're probably going to need extra time to answer questions. So I actually designed this weekend show, the Broiler Chicken Show, to just sort of be that supplemental support that if our level 1 instructor, Grim, who, by the way, has told me that teaching this TRI program is actually one of the bright spots of his life, which I thought was really nice to hear. He actually looks forward to this as kind of an escape. He's in a pretty tough situation right now in life. I would imagine a lot of us in this world. This is a very, very tough window for us humans to get through. I mean, hell, there's a guy in Eastern Europe running around murdering like what, 250,000, 500,000 people right now, and not even blinking an eye about it. So it just goes to show how absolutely horrific these great resets are. I would just simply say each and every one of you should now, for the rest of your lives, have an appreciation for Jupiter-Saturn crosses. and the rest of your life, every single one of you, I know for certain, the next time you hear that Jupiter-Saturn's going to cross, you're going to be like, oh, Jesus, I remember the last time that happened. Fucking all hell broke loose in the world. So at least now you all have an appreciation for this. And, from direct experience, the exact same thing happened in 2000. Interest rates were really, really low. And then the 2000 Jupiter-Saturn cross happened. And then all of a sudden, Alan Greenspan started raising interest rates right out of nowhere and basically drove the entire dot-com bubble into the ground because everybody was free money heading into that event. And then following it, bang, fat, ugly recession. Boom. If anybody's a student of the market, I wasn't trading then, but I definitely remember my old man. He was a big gold bug. And I was just watching and being educated. But I remember through the 1980 market, same sort of thing. In fact, interestingly enough, the Vancouver real estate market was as crazy then in 1979, 1980, 1981 as it is now. Whoa, what a surprise. The weird thing is they always say the more things change, the more they stay exactly the same. And in a weird sort of way, I see exactly the same thing happening to Canada. This and all these commodity countries, like I said, Russia's just an absolute shit show now. And you could argue that 1980 was the absolute top of the Soviet Union. And literally, it just went straight downhill for 15 years following that. I think you could make the exact same argument that Russia was absolutely at the absolute top of its cycle into 2018 there, and it's been basically nowhere but down since. And it actually looks like, in all honesty, it looks like they're going to lose this war, which is incredible. Would have never thought that was going to happen, but there you go. Of course, and actually it's interesting, I am getting feedback from people who are in Australia. From what I understand, life in Australia is very challenging right now. So you can see all these commodity countries, they're all, oh boy, big, ugly mess right now, that's for sure. So, like I said, the more things change, the more they seem to stay exactly the same. But like I said, also too, and if you're watching this for the first time, I saw somebody said, hey, I'm tuning in for the first time. And who was that? That was, where was that person? That was Candy, if that is your real name. I like candy. Does that go? Something like that? Anyway. Does our audio cut that out? I don't know. Crazy sound buffering and stuff like that. Sometimes all the way up here. And then Chris is like, well, the damn audio thing, they didn't hear any of that. So, I don't know, Chris. Can they hear any of my crazy antics here? I don't know. Do you want to give Chris a nod? There you are. Do you have a microphone?
I actually have to make sure that I'm unmuted on YouTube as well, but we can hear the hand slapping on the desk and some of your hijinks.
Okay. Anyway. So I was singing to you, all of you today. I had a terrible singing voice. I know. Got my older sister when I was a kid. She used to always say, you're so tone deaf. I don't think I am, but she was kind of cruel. Anyway, what the hell am I going on about here? So, Candy, what are you supposed to have in front of you as you are listening away? And let's see if all the other people watching on YouTube can help Candy out. What is she supposed to have in front of her and all of you as I'm blabbing away here? And this is just, I've been at this silly game for 35 years. I've picked up a thing or two in this game, and I'm here to help you. There is no fee for watching this. So you might as well, take advantage of the information and somehow incorporate it into your thinking. So newer production says notes and vodka. All right. Well, it's a little bit. I don't know whether drinking is such a good thing to do through this. But if you are watching afterward, I will say the one good thing about watching me on social media, these videos and stuff, is I'm like one of these guys where You can actually watch me on like 1.5 speed. I think 1.75 is the limit. Once you get to 2, it gets a little bit tough, but at least at 1.5 speed. So, I suppose if you're drinking, that would be an interesting experiment to try and take a shot every time I say Bitcoin or something. Brian, you're not so interesting. Oh, there you go. Ooh, in your face. So vodka is a must. There you go. Anyway, Adam, who of course is, I think he is um, learned and is learning as we go, and very enthusiastic site participant. Adam actually was with us in Portugal, touring around that fun country for our fun Portuguese meetup. And he's the only one who got it right there. So way to go, Adam. At some point down the road, we probably ought to get like a token or something for TRI, so I can hand out site tokens, and maybe you can exchange them for merch or something like that. I would give plus 10 credits to Adam for getting the answer correct there. So make a note of that, Adam. If we over there on YouTube, that would be a fun project for him to consider in the decade ahead. But anyway, it would be a very good idea. It would behoove all of you to have your journals out. And actually, what's really cool is, some people, of course, like to just work exclusively online, spreadsheets, word processor documents. We do actually have, you can see, this is the journal that we have in the merch store with the Benner cycle on it. And of course, there's no wrong way to read that, but how you read that statement, I don't even know if you can, definitely is a reflection on how you look at the world. And I actually love that expression. The first time I saw that was probably, 30, 40 years ago. And if anything, I really like that because, in every bull market, you've got bears who are being left behind and they're bitter, even though other people in bull markets are making tons of money. And then conversely, in bear markets, some people are short and they're just absolutely loving it, while everybody who's a bull is dying 1,000 deaths. So, it's not really like there's a right or wrong way to look at this world. It's all really a question of your perspective and what your plan is, what type of person you are, what appeals to you individually. And, the big selling feature of our education program, and I've told all of you repeatedly, the selling feature of our education program and really even our website is not, oh my God, Brian's such an incredible trader, I'm just going to sign. Looks like the camera's still working. Yeah. Yeah, there we go. So I guess I can you hear me? Am I back yet? But I lost the screen share, eh? Yeah, so let's see if we can fire that back up. Methinks this Discord is a piece of shit. Whoops, I didn't just say that, did I? No, well, this Discord's a bit of a challenge. Anyway, we can hear only screen share dead. Isn't that interesting? So if the Discord crashes, you can still see me. I'll go, ah! Anyway. All right. I'm supposed to not swear, so I should say this Discord is a piece of skirt. Is that the code word we're using nowadays? Anyway, I'm not quite sure where to put this now. But anyway, looks like we're screen sharing again. Okay, so final spiel about the pitch for the course. Like I said, the education program for this coming term is just starting. Maybe your PC because never had any problems with Discord. So there you go. You are all right. I am a piece of skirt, maybe. Anyway, Point being that we're starting up the education program for the spring summer term coming up. We've got the raffle, and really the whole point of this education program is just to lay out how does one run a small business of trading effectively. So, like in the level 1 program, I think we even have this on the page here. Yeah. So level 1, really a huge part of the level 1 program is getting in touch with who you are and trying to figure out what it is you want to get out of all of this, which, believe it or not, it takes some exploration to clearly identify why you're doing this and where you want to go with all of this. I think it's super important for us to understand. And actually, when I did this video with these guys, the one thing that this guy here said that he really, really liked hearing from me was the comments about cycles and how everything moves in cycles, everything. And actually, interestingly enough, I've said this repeatedly. Our blog, I mean, I don't see anywhere else on the interneting where you can go and actually get this kind of research. I honestly don't. And we had last year's market nailed with this kind of, January barometer, election cycles, Benner cycle analysis and stuff like that. It's just absolutely perfect. So here we go again. I mean, we've got absolutely beautiful research here. Big shout out to Josh, who's put this all together nicely. Probably the most important thing for this audience, you guys, of course, are super jazzed about crypto and Bitcoin, is this kind of image. And you can see that these cycles are stunningly cliche. And the good part about it, of course, is that you even know exactly when the cycle reset happens. You basically, if you do your homework and you don't, of course, get sucked into listening to CNBC, because ironically enough, you listen to those people, they still haven't got their act together with regard to crypto. They just, I do see that there are guys like Joe Kernan. I've watched Joe Kernan now probably, Jesus, easily 30 years. So I do see that maybe about 5 years ago or so, he started to get it. This whole proof of work, and is there value in that immutable blockchain that some stupid central planner, socialist, quasi-communist, quasi-cartel advocate can just come along and absolutely screw us over just like that. Oh, well, I guess we got to go print a whole bunch of money and hyperinflate all these people into the Great Reset, right? And we have absolutely nothing to be able to say or do about it. Bitcoin gave us the out. So the interesting question, actually, and I even had this with these gentlemen, is we're not actually in that hyperinflate the economy, print money like a drunken fucking whore. In fact, I might even make the argument that the cartel has gotten very serious about how they don't want to print any more money. They want to try and maintain the US dollar as the world's hegemony. And interestingly enough, as they are actually going through quantitative tightening, they're calling it, it's fascinating to see how the public, of course, is completely wrapped up in that previous paradigm. So they're constantly talking about money printing and Burr and all that. And I'd actually say that that's yesterday's story. And that's usually how the public invests, is they invest in yesterday's story. I think actually got this absolutely nailed perfectly is this guy. And this guy is so smart, Mr. Hendry. And actually, he even has his own channel, which is probably better for you. I mean, I tweeted out, and of course, it looks like a few of you saw this and commented and liked and all that kind of stuff. But this is there, and I've even even give him a subscribe. Hugh Hendry official. I mean, he's a character, but he's smart as a whip. Just absolutely smart as a whip. So the point of the matter here is that, interestingly enough, and you even see the headline down here, gold is too loved. I'd actually have to agree with that. I do think gold and gold stocks will do well through this cycle, but I'm a little leery about going and picking up gold here at $2,000 plus an ounce now. I think it has, keep in mind the 2000 bottom in gold was like $250 to $300. So that's already 10x. Well, maybe a little less than 10x. Maybe it has to go up to 2,500. I don't know. But it is interesting how Hugh actually can make the sales pitch for why he could see something like Bitcoin go up to like maybe 100 Gs over the coming cycle. I suppose the only issue here is, and he also said it too, is could we see some sort of deflationary spiral the market goes into as the Fed is just hell bent on trying to get control of inflation and get control of the currency system. And also, too, what I thought was really interesting, and it was more a comment, and actually, Chris and I were putting together a really fun document, sort of a weekly newsletter that we should actually sort of, I don't know, tie in with these broiler chicken shows. I don't know whether, do you have just, can we just do a screenshot of what we had yesterday? We sort of talked about, we don't necessarily have to give them that document itself or any of the links, but just to show them what the screenshot of that document that we were working on yesterday looked like, Chris. Is that possible? Like if you could pull up that PDF and then just do like a screenshot of what we did yesterday, I wouldn't mind showing them, because there's also another really, like I think that this would be like a link that we would have in that newsletter, videos on the interneting that Brian found really interesting this past week that you should probably watch. And this definitely would be one of those. And that link I know is in yesterday's document. Also, too, and this is not necessarily Miss Martino Booth, Chris's girlfriend's video. I think she was like a guest on this gentleman's podcast, and super duper, I have to say, really good podcast this gentleman does. I also like watching this guy. I think this guy's really smart. When it comes to cryptocurrencies, I like listening to him. He's got a very sharp head on his shoulders. But what the hell's the name of that? Oh, darn, I can't remember off the top of my head. But I watched a really cool interview. This gentleman and this other gentleman, if I can find, here it is. Here, this guy here also, like this would be in that document, that weekly document kind of idea. I like listening to this guy. I think he's got a really good head on his shoulders. And of course, he spent a good long time chatting with our favorite central banker, Mr. Miss or Mrs. I'm not sure. Probably Mrs. D. Martino Booth. There you go. There's a nice screenshot for her. There we go. That's a little bit better. Anyway, fascinating her commentary about how she believes that the banking cartel, who of course, run the Fed, they're kind of at war right now with private equity, quote unquote. Who the hell's private equity? I would get the impression it's a lot of those kind of like the BlackRock people, and the what's the guy's name? Fink, right? Those kind of people. Where if she believes that they are driving monetary policy versus the actual Fed and the banksters who were technically given the mandate to run monetary policy, I suppose, 100 years ago or so. And, if you think about it in simplest terms, it makes sense. Anytime private equity wants the Fed to balk, they just knock the stock market down, right? Dow's off, 10% or something like that in a week or two. Then, of course, all the politicians start, their phones start ringing off the hook by their constituents. Hey, we're getting killed. We're getting killed. And of course, politicians then go to the Fed, hey, you got to do something. You got to do something. And then finally, Powell says, okay, fine. We'll balk and lower interest rates. So that's how private equity is dominating monetary policy. And she believes that those days are over. And, she even said here that the headline of this conversation with this gentleman, Forward Guidance, that's the name of their show. She even said that she thinks that the days of the Fed coming in and sort of acquiescing to private equity, those days are over. So I thought that was a really interesting commentary. And as I said there a moment ago, when I was chatting with Chris, I don't necessarily want to go into the actual newsletter itself. This is, So this is the one pager here. This is what we're going to sort of attach to this video. So it's a nice compliment, kind of what it is that we're going to be talking about through these videos. And there you can see, the blog post from Josh, which I thought was just absolutely next level. And the research that TRI is doing, I think is just absolutely awesome. I better make sure I stay in this room, though. If I crap out here, I got to reload this quickly. Then there's Miss DiMartino's booth, and there's Hugh Hendry. So these would be kind of like the videos that I would say, these are probably worth paying attention to. Okay, so on Monday to Friday we do like a 30-minute summary. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday, Brian is on. Thursdays, Julian gives me a bit of a break, and he does the summary video. Ideally, we would like to cover things like the major news events and econs through those sort of recap videos. So I don't know whether I'm really going to get too much into major econs, other than, all I would simply say is, if we just come over and take a quick boo at what are some of the big things that happened in the world economically. And I personally like to use this site. You don't necessarily need to use this site, but I do. There are various different versions of these kind of news aggregators around. But as you can see, we had a jobs report, of course, on Friday. The Canadian economy is extremely strong, huge job numbers there. I'm not quite sure how the Canadian central bankers can justify not keeping pace with the U.S. Americans raising rates, but we'll see what happens. Interestingly enough, U.S., basically the job numbers are fairly strong. But I did notice, and actually Josh, even on our Twitter feed, if you're on this site, just right here, he even pointed out, because I had kind of pointed it out, that, there was something wrong with this most recent report. I don't know where I saw Josh do that. Where did he put that? Yeah, here. So the jobs report on balance came out pretty strong, but what was really interesting about this was they actually revised the numbers substantially down for February and March. So I wonder, like I said, the numbers that came out, actually maybe we do the previous week. The numbers that came out on Friday, it was a pretty big number. And, politically, of course, this really, what I'm worried about here is Mr. Biden is actually not doing the Fed any favors. Keep in mind that the jobs report is produced by the Labor Department, which of course is under the executive branch, which means that it's highly political. And Mr. Biden has clearly demonstrated that he is very, very political when it comes to all of this. And if it takes something like fudging these numbers a bit to get a certain message across to the voting public, and then months down the road, you find that the numbers are substantially changed and this actually isn't real. Um, if we did the math, and that was the tweet that I had put out, that in February and March we actually had like huge revisions, so much so that if you actually add up, even though this number here says that we added like 60,000, 63,000 more jobs than anticipated, but the February and March reductions were like 160,000. So technically over the 3-month period, the market actually lost 100,000 jobs. So Mr. Biden's not making Mr. Trump or well, Trump, there's another conversation. Don't even, thank heavens we don't have to go open that can of worms today. But Mr. Biden's making Mr. Powell's job not very easy. In fact, I get the impression that the two of them are kind of bumping heads now. And I also noticed, too, that the Treasury Department has become incredibly politicized as well. So, for example, Ms. Booth here, which again, if you fancy yourself a trader, I think listening to people like Ms. Booth, sadly, it has to become required watching. And you have to get to the point where you actually even understand what she's saying. But she's repeatedly pointed out in this interview that the U.S. fiscal year end is in September. And, like I said, I've been in this business a long time. There's a reason why September, October is usually a tough period in the market. It's usually associated with fiscal year end in the U.S. The U.S. government has to do a lot of sort of jockeying to make sure that they meet budget numbers. They meet austerity if they happen to be belt tightening, that kind of thing. And then also, too, there's this thing called crowding out effect, where if government needs to do something in the short term, they can move markets dramatically and totally screw the public over, which, is par for the course in this crazy ass world. Substitute drama teachers. Oh, God. So she pointed out that there's no crisis here in the short term about the U.S. Treasury running out of money, and there's going to be some sort of brick wall that we're going to hit here in June, July. That doesn't exist. So what the hell is going on? Well, what a surprise. Granny is very political. I mean, how how she and good old speaking of Trump, how she and Trump got along, eh? Or not. But she is stunningly political. And so, keep in mind, Treasury Department is underneath Mr. Biden, who's basically a card-carrying socialist, if not quasi-communist. So what a surprise to get their sort of great reset, money printing out the butt, hyperinflation policies pushed through. Well, we got to get those Republicans in the House of Representatives. We got to get a little fear into the public's eyes. And we got to get those politicians to start listening to their constituents, because the constituents are freaked out because the Treasury Department is injecting a whole shit ton of fear into their lives, which really isn't necessary. So anyway, politics. Well, wonderful. Anyway, so, you don't need to necessarily listen to the Beamish. Miss DeMartino Booth, I think, is incredibly intelligent. And I think the gentleman who's interviewing her, this gentleman here, Jack Farley, I think he's definitely worth his weight, definitely worth a listen. And he has some very interesting interviews. So, there you go. There's a shameless plug. And it's not even his channel. It's not even our channel. So, okay, so where the hell am I going with all this? That's sort of your backdrop of what we're facing here. This, I think, actually is a really cool scenario because this reminds me a lot of 2020, specifically March 2020. And I was even talking to people most recently about this, that in like March of 2020, that was right here. Um, Ironically enough, when I did that conversation with the gentleman over at Hero, everything that we teach in the education program, it's universal. I mean, what we really want to try and convince you to do is act like institutional players in the market, basically buying down markets. And when this market tanked here in March of 2020, it had absolutely nothing to do with Bitcoin. And that, I can tell you, is a buying opportunity. This had everything to do with, shouldn't we our futures? Give them all the money that they want. Oh, we're freaking out. It's the end of the world. And it really had nothing to do with Bitcoin. And sure enough, you can see what happened the other side of this. And I actually did work with some people in years gone by that actually forced themselves to step in and buy at these levels. And obviously, hindsight 2020, they did extremely well. So I'm wondering if maybe we might have another one of these type of situations. It's I think it's important that we always keep in mind, especially with something like Bitcoin, which is technically a commodity, is a limited supply. It has a cost of production. Technically, it has some value. The actual cost to produce the Bitcoins, there's a number associated with that. Let's see if we have it just happen here. So if we're ever talking about a commodity, we should always keep in mind what sort of cost of production is. This is really how you figure out what value is in this space. So there is our S19 XP. I think this is the most recent version of sort of Bitcoin miners out there in the world. We didn't, you saw the title of this. The title of this is March 2020. Yeah, well, it doesn't even show. Anyway, here, this is the title of this when I saved this was March 2020. So technically, this is a few years old. That might not even be the most up to date, highest speed, highest technology miner out there. There might even be newer ones that are even lower priced. But if we think that, probably industry itself probably isn't using the S19s anymore. There's probably a lot of individuals that are still using S19s. They're underwater. But it is interesting to see, and actually, excuse me, S17s. It is interesting to see S19s, S19P, S19XP. Well, they are all theoretically making money at the current price. What we found in previous cycles, and this is what should happen, is you really shouldn't see the price of the commodity go below the cost of production, because then that would basically mean that all these people that invested in all this mining equipment and all that kind of stuff, they're going to go out of business. And especially, I mean, geez, I put out tweets. There are some mining operations where they've got like tens of thousands of these miners. I mean, just insane numbers. And in fact, actually, I think I put out a tweet recently. There's one guy in particular, and it's just a recent tweet that we did, where this guy here, they're running Bitcoin miners using nuclear power. It's like, holy Jesus Christ. They're using nuclear reactors to mine Bitcoin. So to hell with you, environmentalists. What a joke. I mean, theoretically, nuclear power is relatively green. So use all the electricity you want. So how ironic, right? But you can see their power cost to mine Bitcoin, $7,600. So I don't, this is a quote, and I think this is a bit misleading, because I think this is a quote about what's their cost energy wise to mine Bitcoin. But, obviously these big corporations, They've got, executive committees they have to keep on staff. And of course, they all have six-figure salaries. You've got, the buildings, property to maintain, insurance to pay, custodial services. I'm sure there's lots of costs involved in all that. So is this like a complete, keep in mind something like a Newmont Mining or American Barrick or something, when they quote you what is their cost to produce an ounce of gold, it includes all of those fees and all of those costs. So I don't know whether 7,600 actually includes all of the costs to operate their companies, but it is interesting that just from a straight power perspective, they're quoting like 7,600 bucks to mine a Bitcoin. But I think the more important thing about all of this is just understanding that when we do start getting down into these cost of production levels, that margins start to get very thin. And, long and short of it here is industry doesn't really want price to be low, to be below the cost of production. Because then that would mean that there's no point in them being in the business. And a lot of people have invested a lot of money in Bitcoin. And the interesting thing there is if you start marginalizing the players and they start leaving and turning their machines off, then that opens up the opportunity for a very specific concept all about cryptocurrency that each and every one of you should know. And if you ever hear talk along these lines, then you know that we are very close to some sort of bottom. And it was interesting to see that, as we were coming into the end of the year, and of course, that stupid idiot, FTX doofus. And actually, you want to see, you as an investor, you have to understand how brutally corrupt this whole thing was. And this gentleman, he absolutely nailed it. Tom Brady was literally paid as an advertising spokesman more than twice all of the money he ever made in his entire professional football career to be a spokesman of this FTX. That's how absolutely insanely, brutally corrupt this whole damn thing was. And, this guy, he absolutely nailed it. He's the guy, he was like one of the only guys in the street who actually said this is a joke and it's all going to collapse in. So get ready. And sure enough, boom. So way to go, Mr. Cojones. And, I think he's going to become quite famous about this. I wouldn't even be surprised if there's like movies and stuff that are made around his story. So way to go, sir. But I guess just the point is, and, the way that I spun this was that oh, bees, look at all the people in the room here now. If my Discord blows up, guys, I'm sorry. Just bear with me. You'll still see me over there on YouTube, but anyway. So the point of hello. Maybe throw yourself on mute too while you're in the call here. Who is that? Mr. NE100R. I'd appreciate it, or Chris, maybe help you out there. I don't know, Chris, can you mute people if you see they have their microphones on? All right, NE100R, please put yourself on mute. Thank you very much. Okay. Maybe my Discord's running a bit slow, but anyway. Okay. All right, so the point of the matter here is, and this is what I'm really trying to help you guys with, and let's just do a little survey on the YouTube audience. Let's see, number one, is anybody even listening to me now? And number two, do you even know this? And, like people who are like, hey, I'm watching this channel for the first time. Of course, Adam was the only person who actually got the question right. Way to go, Adam. You're awesome. But what are we supposed to have in front of us, and where should we write this question to this, the answer to this question down in? So you all should know the answer to this. And of course, we'll give you newer production. We'll give you marks too. You would get marks as well. Anyway, What is the expression that if we ever hear this, you know that we are very close to some sort of bottom in the price of Bitcoin? And I'll tell you, I mean, this is a guy who's basically been working in this space now in earnest for the past 10 years. And every time we hear this kind of conversation, the price, like literally within weeks, launches itself higher. Neon the Matador, you are awesome. First one out of the gate. Gog got it. Oh, you are awesome. We do. All right, cats. It's the end of the world. It's the end of the world as we know it. Probably should get in there and buy when you hear that kind of talk. Anyway. Excellent, Jay. Also got it. Good job. All right. Well, there's a few of you that have been paying attention to me. Now, I mean, let's call a spade, people. Do we have that kind of conversation going on in the market right now? Well, there's also that too. No, Bitcoin's going to zero. So the point here is, well, remember Tony Vase, right? Tony Vase says we go down to 1K, but Mr. Novograd says we have bottomed out. Bottomed out. Hey, and if you like my singing, please hit the like button, subscribe, ring Colleen's bell. Yeah, we haven't seen Colleen on the site for a while, eh? Anyway, I hope she's doing okay. Anyway, so the point of the matter here is we did have that kind of conversation, 51% attack, all that kind of talk. In fact, we even did hear people saying Bitcoin's going to zero, all that kind of talk down in here. And the irony of it all is that this is so cliche. Buy when it snows, sell when it goes. If anything, what I'm a little bit worried about right now is we are starting to hear a lot of sort of complacency in the market. People are just assuming that Bitcoin is not going to go back down. And I don't like if anything, what I want to hear, I mean, it's terrible for sales around TRI, but I see just an absolute ton of crypto experts out there now, an absolute ton of, hey, go and buy this coin, you'll get rich. Follow my squiggly line indicator, you're going to get rich, and all that kind of talk. That's not good. If anything, that's got to be a little bit of a warning sign. So just sentiment-wise, I think the way that I would describe this is it feels like the market is getting very complacent. Having said that, it's not really like there's anything wrong with Bitcoin. So I don't really like the idea of shorting. I mean, if you saw those cost of production numbers, I mean, there's a whole bunch of miners here sitting, anybody who's running still their basic S19s, that's 21. So here we are, 28. Maybe we break down at like 27. I mean, what's the risk reward looking for like 21? Yeah. I mean, if I have to risk back up to 30, that means I got to risk like 3 Gs. So that means I need to see at least 6 Gs, which means I have to see at least 20,000 to justify the trade. I think it's in that neighborhood. Actually, what's interesting is I do really like the idea of this being a range and just coming in and selling against the top end of the range and buying against the bottom end of the range. Was interesting, of course, when we dumped right here, this was because of a social media influencer who sort of got everybody all worried about Binance and CZ. And that was a bit of a head fake. So it's interesting following that resolution. It turns out actually there was no FUD or worry. The market just launched itself higher. Maybe if we get some sort of big spat of fear and stuff into the market, we start coming back down against these levels. And then you see any kind of sign of reversal, we might just head right back up into the top here. It's tough to say. I think probably if we do dump here, I'd want to see some sort of that kind of thing. I suppose when we get into the individual charts and the tweets and stuff that I put out to summarize Bitcoin, you'll see that. But I guess the way that I'm still looking at this now is I really like the idea. Also, notice too, we could probably even do this. That notice there's a reload zone. Right? This is what we teach in our education program. So if I was thinking about being a buyer of Bitcoin, if we start getting down into this area, I have to start getting really interested. And I do kind of like the idea that this is probably a really big liquidity pool right down below this low. So I wouldn't be surprised if there's some sort of they go after this sort of liquidity pool and it'll break the bottom. We start getting down into these cost of production numbers. Maybe we start getting talk about, maybe CZ is going to be indicted or something, and there's Interpol arrest warrants issued for him and all that kind of stuff, and people are absolutely freaking out. The irony of all that doesn't have anything to do with Bitcoin. Or maybe, like I said, we have this sort of trumped up political thing going on in Washington where the Republicans in the Congress are like, screw it, we're not going to turn the printers on anymore. No more free money, fucking commie Biden bastard. Enough is enough. No more great resets. We're done. And then, of course, Granny comes out, oh, well, the government's going to run out of money. And then mysteriously you find out she comes out and says, oh, well, actually, we got another month or two. So it's not really that much of a crisis. But the whole fucking market just tanks because of the fear. And really, that's more about, just motivating the politicians to do stuff. And it has nothing to do with Bitcoin. And actually, really good testament to that is, and again, I don't know how I'm going to be able to do this. It's kind of funny. You sit and you watch these shorts, and it seems to be that there's sort of like a revolving who is popular in shorts land. And some of the guys that were doing a ton of shorts and stuff there, these little short videos, not shorts in the market, they kind of disappeared. And I'm kind of like, where did they go? I mean, I'm just sort of watching away. Just click, 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 click. Now it's interesting how this guy now, Bobby Lee, he's in tons and tons of shorts. Also, this guy too, I think he's a really good spokesman for sort of that pendulum swinging back the other way with politics down in the States. But there is one gentleman who's relatively new to the scene. I haven't really seen too many shorts from him before. But all of a sudden, this guy's just coming out of nowhere. And let's see if I can find him. Where the heck is he? And it's interesting. He is like totally old school. Like if I was running a brokerage business and stuff like that, I mean, that's this guy. He just speaks to, I get my price charts in the mail. She's probably like the next generation of killer traders. I'm so impressed with her. She is sharp as a tack. Totally Tori. I'd follow her. She's pretty smart. But where is this guy? He's a character, right? He's like twice my age. So he's definitely an old timer. I guess you'd call him a baby boomer. Oh yeah, it's this guy's videos. So this guy here, I don't know who he is, but he's relatively new to the scene. Look at him. He's pretty old. But he just keeps going on and on and on about how the stock market is about to break. And again, I'm trying to keep this sort of like contextualized with regard to crypto. His attitude is the transports are breaking down. We don't necessarily need to get into the transports. We can do that, of course, on the Monday shows if you want. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, whatever. In the daily brief, we can go look at the transports and the relation to the Dow and stuff like that. But the point here is that he's actually expecting last October's lows to be not only tested, but actually taken out in the stock market. And frankly speaking, I'd have to agree with him. I think there's plenty of technical justification to be thinking along those lines. I don't think the stock market is really that bullish. And we've got the Fed continuing to say that they're raising rates. They just raised rates. And of course, we've got now all the banks. Remember, we used to actually, here's another thing that you should write down if you've never heard this before. The banks always lead the market. So, I've been going on and on and on about how I think stocks like TD Bank, which I think is it's a joke what the hell they've done to our society here, and these bankster characters. But I've made the argument for a very long time that I think that the Canadian banks are just an absolute brutal short. And it actually turns out that this is the most heavily shorted bank stock in the world. So go figure on that one, eh? But, this was actually a bear put spread trade that we reported that institutional players were actually putting on here a year ago. So you can see how that sort of played out. It's basically doing, its typical bear put trade spread, bear put spread trade. Sorry. It's just doing its thing. But there's an old expression in the market that the banks lead everything. So, you see what's happening to these regional banks getting destroyed down in the States. I don't think that the Toronto Dominion Bank will ever be destroyed because they basically are in bed with the Canadian government. The difference between the states is that theoretically the banks, especially the FOMC and all that, they're supposed to be disconnected from the government. But in Canada, the banks are all controlled by the Rothschilds and the oligarchs, and they are so in bed with the government. I mean, at least down in the States, you've got I don't even know if it's even a good example, but you've got Granny, who at least has a history of banking. She's been in the industry a while. In Canada, the finance minister, she has absolutely no working experience in the financial services industry. So clearly, whoever is running the show, they gave substitute drama teachers instructions to put somebody who doesn't really know what the hell they're doing and wouldn't sort of cry foul if they saw that the money supply is absolutely exploding, which means that there's going to be hyperinflation, quote unquote, the great reset is happening in front of your eyes. She wouldn't say boo because she doesn't know what the hell she's doing. And if she did say boo, they would say, well, what experience do you have to make a professional judgment about that? So as a result, she sits there and talks about, oh, I'm going to cancel our Disney Plus subscription for our kids because this inflation problem is it's getting difficult. So that's our solution is we're going to cancel the Disney Plus subscription in our household. And it's interesting to listen to the backlash from the Canadians themselves. Finally, the Canadian public is like, you got to be kidding me. We're dying 1,000 deaths. You go to the grocery store and your grocery bill has just gone through the roof, doubled, tripled, quadrupled over the past 4 or 5 years. And the only way you can explain it is, of course, Milton Friedman understood completely. And of course, I hope all of you, as good market technicians, good, maybe economists in trading, good traders, you understand that if you go and hyperinflate your money supply, it is going to be directly translated into your consumer price index, a la inflation in your society. Oh, what a surprise. We already knew this. This guy went on year after year after year. Why isn't anybody waking up to this? It's shocking. And it only happens after the fact. So they have gone and blown up the budgets. They have gone and created these absolutely horrendous deficits. And now there's no way of putting the genie back in the bottle now. And what is interesting, like I said, is I do believe in a weird sort of way, and this actually comes back, and wow, Brian's on one hell of a rant here today, isn't he? But it is interesting coming back full circle to Miss Booth, because Miss Booth actually made a direct reference. There's our buddy. That she actually believes that, and keep in mind, where did Chair Powell, we don't hear too many people going on about that anymore. But anyway, I think he's the honeymoon with Mr. Powell is now officially over. Anyway, she actually pointed out that Powell comes from George Bush Sr.'s world. And she pointed out that she actually believes that Jerry is actually a hard money advocate, which means that in a weird sort of way, I think that while Jerry was sort of brand new on the job as Fed chair, he was suckered into this whole MMT. Oh, this time it's different. And yeah, you can print as much money, fucking granny going on there. I don't think we'll ever have a financial crisis again. It's just never going to happen again. I mean, is Granny really that stupid? I can't believe she's that stupid. Or this was all part of the plan. Klaus, Great Reset, World Economic Forum. Speaking of World Economic Forum, oh boy, there's another can of worms. But it turns out that Carney guy, who of course everybody's absolutely in love with him, I think he's a total sellout for the Klauses of the world. I thought I did tweet out about him, but he actually came out recently, and this is the guy that said we want $100 trillion of financing to move completely off of the carbon economy, and anything that's to do with oil is evil, and it's the 20th century, and it's bad, and of course we're now moving into the new world. Blah 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 blah. It goes on and on and on, and now all of a sudden he's coming out and he's actually completely changed his story. Now he's actually saying, believe it or not, that actually we need to invest in carbon, and we need to invest in more fossil fuels, and we need to spend more money on exploration for oil. And it's just like, you got to be kidding me. I mean, these people are horrible. They have clearly agendas, and I don't know where the hell that I thought I tweeted it out. Not bizarre. It might have been like one of the responses to, I had like an interesting debate. Yeah, here it is. This dickhead. I mean, I'm absolutely shocked at how these people can just turn their story on a dime, because clearly now he's obviously in bed with some sort of oil company or oil cartel or something like that. And now, of course, they want to promote, hey, we got to get out there and explore for more oil. Oh, by the way, your whole bullshit about, $100 trillion in lending to get to the new paradigm and no more fossil fuels and all that crap, right? That story's old, and that story's actually running into a lot of traction now. And it turns out that actually something like 85% of our economy is still carbon based. And and all of their bluster and all of their bullshit, they were able to convince 15% of our economy to move to these alternative fuels and stuff like that. So it's the epitome of hypocrisy. It just drives you crazy. Then of course, I make the argument, look, if more CO2 in the environment is the problem, then why not invest in technology that takes CO2 out of the environment? I would argue that half of the reason why we're in this situation is we're cutting all the fucking trees in the world down. And this guy that I was chatting with, 2/3 of the living species are disappeared on our planet. That's the problem. Why don't we all go out and plant a damn tree? That would probably solve a lot of the carbon. But there is a guy on YouTube. He did these fun squirrel sort of chases in his backyard. You probably remember him. But he was going on. There are some really cool carbon CO2 reduction technology out there. Why don't we invest in that? That would be the smart thing. No. You got to invest in Tesla, right? And everybody's got to be driving electric cars. And, I hate to say it, but literally as soon as BlackRock said that they were done with the whole Tesla stock trade and they took profits, all of a sudden, instantly, this whole story about, we got to go green and everything's green, it all stopped. So clearly there's other agendas going on here, and it just makes you sick to your stomach how hypocritical these people are. Anyway, there's a nice big fat rant for you. I'm sure that's going to score points with the 1%. Okay, I think I got that out of my system. All right, puked it all out. As I said before, in the latter part of this broadcast, and you can see there are a couple people. If you are a TRIer and you have a question for me, please feel free to write that down there, and I'll circle around back to that after I'm done sort of the next part of this conversation today, which should be just sort of a review of Bitcoin from these tweets that I put out. I like to do this on a weekly basis. And then that way we have sort of a track record. I think, actually, I had one gentleman who I did YouTube shows with over the past year or so. Paul, I think he's gone on to create his own advisory service and doing quite well. And in that show, he had sort of a weekly, very consistent message and review, and I kind of like that idea, so I want to do kind of the same thing. So let's maybe take the next half hour or so here and just go through this, and then we'll pop on over to the question document. Then we'll do the raffle, and then I'll ask everybody for hugs and kisses and best wishes for Lily, and I'll head off and try and do my actual real job, which is trying to make him feel good about life. So here we go. Part two. In fact, I'll take a sip of beverage. Rants can sometimes be exhausting on the vocal cords. All right. So first and foremost, what's the comment this week? Interestingly enough, you could even argue 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, almost like 2 months, we've just been banging around in this trading range, somewhere between, I guess you'd say, about 26, 27,000 to the downside and 30, 31,000 to the upside. Yeah, we've just been going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. So I think the simple conclusion that you can make is not a heck of a lot of change in this story. The thing that I'm concerned about here, of course, though, is seasonally, we had a very friendly window there at the end of the year. We had some serious fear in the crypto space. And I would argue that the sentiment was pretty negative. Bitcoin's going to zero, 51% attacks, everything's a fraud. Hell, I haven't even seen that Sam Bankman-Fried guy in the media lately. So it's interesting how, with all of his political influence that he's bought, basically all of his political influence has paid off in that nobody's talking about him anymore. And it might be interesting to see whether that SOB actually even does a day in jail. Hopefully, with these gentlemen, where's another way I can do this? Hopefully, with these gentlemen's just keeping the sort of fire stoked. Where is he? This guy? Hopefully, we will see some justice around all that. I don't think he did any of us who are crypto fans any favors whatsoever. And really, if anything, they should put rules in place. You should not run a hedge fund that has unregulated access to the underlying securities asset base that's based off of a crypto brokerage exchange. I mean, it's a massive conflict of interest. And I've always told you guys, a little is actually not such a bad thing. If you leave these people to their own devices, and ironically enough, I think it's less Sam Bankman-Fried, or whatever the hell the guy's name is, and it's more the guys that were behind the scenes. The poker site guy. Those are the outright crooks, and those people should go to jail. So anyway, it'll be interesting to see whether there's any traction, and hopefully this guy keeps sort of everybody in the public aware. Hey, this story hasn't gone away, and we really should see justice done here. And to a certain degree, being paid that much money I actually think Mr. Brady is actually culpable here as well. And more importantly, his wife or ex-wife or whatever the hell their relationship is. Those people should be held to account too, because that was basically, if somebody throws that kind of money at you, you should say, well, you know what, something doesn't smell right about all this. I mean, it's just horrible how corrupt all of this was. Anyway, so I guess the point that I'm trying to make with all this is on a weekly basis, where are we here? That's this chart. We've gone sideways for a while. I maybe gotten a little bit complacent. I remember in 2015, was it 2000? Maybe it was 2014. Bitcoin, it was following the China ban, and I suppose we can probably show you on the chart. Back here. Yeah, it was this window right here. So China had banned Bitcoin right in here. And price rallied pretty smartly off of those lows and up through this summer. And it was, I remember Bitcoin was like 650 bucks, somewhere in that area. Yeah, you can see. So around 650 here. And everybody just was like, well, this is the price Bitcoin should be. And they did not and it was just, it's the same sentiment that I feel that I'm feeling, that I'm sensing in the marketplace right now. Like everybody's very comfortable with Bitcoin's price right now at this level. And that to me bothers me immensely. I've also told you too, based on that blog that I showed you earlier. There. Where's the blog? There it is. If you ask me what's going to happen through 2023, I think the market's going to look something like this. So I don't know. I guess maybe we're right in this window right here. I actually said you are here now on this, but I actually get the feeling that maybe we're still like right in this area. And this would be that May, June swoon. And then Bitcoin usually likes, and crypto for that matter, usually likes to have a fairly friendly, we'll call it midsummer to late summer. So July, August into late September, usually they're pretty friendly market state. And then what I'm really worried about, of course, is this September, October. That is the U.S. fiscal year end. So that is, if there's going to be like, oh boy, the poop's going to hit the fan, the skirt's going to hit your fan, and it is going to have nothing to do with crypto, and it's going to have nothing to do with Bitcoin. I showed you that YouTuber, although it's gone now. Maybe if I go back forward, this guy, right? He's expecting those October lows to be taken out in the stock market, and that would be pretty well timed, and it would be all around like, oh, is the U.S. government going to default on its debt and all that kind of crap. And of course, that has nothing to do with Bitcoin. So it actually represents, in my opinion, actually a really good buying opportunity. That's more, let's say like there's a problem with the code or something and somebody hacked Bitcoin. That would be like unsystemic risk. That is risk that is directly associated with Bitcoin. However, if we have something like, well, the U.S. government's going to potentially default on its debt, and so as a result, people are just getting out of risk assets and piling into government bonds, which is ironic because even Ms. Booth pointed out the last time that the U.S. did that, the U.S. bond market actually rallied. The U.S. potentially defaulted. I think it was like 2012, if I'm not mistaken, something like that, maybe 2011. And the U.S. debt was downgraded. Everybody freaked out and sold the stock market, and the actual bond market rallied. Go figure. So I wouldn't be surprised if you have a similar situation to that. So, and that has nothing to do with Bitcoin. And then what I would finally say, of course, is that we know, and this is the icing on the cake as far as I'm concerned. I showed you this image we know that Bitcoin loves to bottom about 6 months or so ahead of these halving events. So you could argue bottom here, halving event here was the next year, but there was that big panic dump. And sure enough, you see what happened the other side of the halving. Same sort of thing, bottom here, double bottom breakout there, halving event, huge rally, right? But double, kind of a sloppy bottom, but this was all about Silk Road. Mark, no, that's actually incorrect. This was actually all about, well, I guess it would be the first part of Silk Road when Mr. Albrecht was arrested, right? But point being that this was the Silk Road reversal right in there, and that was, of course, Willie bot and all that kind of fun stuff. But point of the matter here is there's your halving, there's your huge rally. So halving event, bonk. Halving event, bonk. Halving event, bonk. Here it comes. So can you get your skirt together? All that kind of conversation. We're now into like this window, right? We're into this window. We're into this window. There's the halving event ahead of us, and there's the other side. Mr. Hendry that I made reference to earlier, he basically said that he couldn't really determine where Bitcoin its lows are here in the near term. And again, sort of going back to this kind of conversation, could you have Bitcoin fall in half here from these current levels as we work our way through this 23? Keep in mind, 23 is supposed to be an accumulation year. You might find that Bitcoin actually bottoms in like January of 2024. We had a peak year on the Benner cycle that was 19. Turns out the stock market topped in January of 2020. And then it was straight down following that, right? Then all the money printing and we still haven't really recaptured that high on a real asset basis, which is kind of sad. But it is what it is. Anyway, so the point being that I don't know where the hell the bottom is, but 23 is a bottoming year. And my hunch is it's going to look something like this. It's going to be uglier than shit. And down at the bottom, your time to actually step up and buy this stuff in earnest is when you hear blood in the streets. Oh my God, it's the end of the world, right? And all that kind of talk. I don't hear any of that right now. So that scares me a little bit, folks. Just be aware. Also, too, and I think I had pointed this out, there's a bunch of these altcoins that have done really, really well. Oh, by the way, I'm now officially an NFT, and I publicly said, me personally, I'm not going to shill you the idea. You all know, and you all should know. In fact, I even said it right here. I will never, ever tell you what to buy or sell in the marketplace because I don't care what you do with your money. Your money is your money. It's not my money. I don't care. If you want to come and join the education program, we'll teach you how to build and run a small business of trading. Awesome. Great. And I think there's value added if you do come and pay our fee to learn how to run your small business of trading. We've had, that goes back to this kind of conversation. We've had a lot of people that are like, holy crap, Brian, you've changed my life. And that's awesome. But at the same time, too, I do acknowledge that there are some people that are like, actually, I really didn't enjoy the program and I want my money back. I have told people that, hey, if you show me that you did the work, you journaled, you logged, you built a trading plan, you went through all the exercises that we asked you to do, and at the end of it, you still didn't feel like you got value for your money back, for your money spent, I will give you your money back. I have told everybody that. And there's even somebody recently that I said, great, show us that you did the work and we'll be more than happy to refund your money. And I haven't heard back from them since. So we'll see how that goes. And if the person has, said, look, I did everything they asked me to do, I still think your education program is a waste of time, I'll be more than happy to refund that person their money. It is absolute promise that I make to everybody. But anyway, back to our conversation. I'm not going to tell you what to buy and sell in the marketplace. I don't care what you do with your money. It's your money. It's not mine. But I will tell you, when I see a chart that looks like this, I mean, I got to go buy some of that. You just got to have some of that on the books. That's ridiculous. And this isn't even the real highs. The highs back in 1718 were like $7, $8. I mean, it's ridiculous how high this thing was. So I told everybody that number one, if you see a chart that looks like this, don't be surprised Brian's on the buy side. And I'm the type of person, I'm not going to take a leverage trade on this. I'm going to buy a whack of it, which I did. I'll tell you, and I'll tell site members, hey, look at, I came in there and I bought the BFF. In fact, I even told the deal. This is a tough one because it's kind of illiquid. So it was a bit difficult getting filled in size. But I told the guy that I did buy off of this that I wanted to be filled from this BFF level. And he basically got me long from that level. So I'm happy. But as kind of a treat, and it probably shows that the price is probably actually going to have to work its way lower here. He said, Brian, you know what? As a treat, we do NFTs. So we'll throw in an NFT for you. So there you are. There's Brian's official NFT. I am now officially NFT'd. And if you do join the hangout here, Jays, can you please throw yourself on mute? Or if somebody can help him find the mute button, I'd appreciate it. I do see NE100R is still unmuted. I don't know whether we can help that person. Thank you, Jays. Appreciate it. All right. So I don't know what the hell's going to happen here. But I will tell you, I mean, what's so cool about this chart, and it's kind of off topic, but I mean, you tell me, is there any chance that I'm going to be able to? So okay. So the first thing I was going to say is, you go and take this coin up to all-time highs, and I will do the same as what I did with dog money. I don't know whether you guys remember, I made a promise to everybody that if they took dog money, I think it was to like $2 was the magic number, that I was officially going to change my name to Sedona Euphoria. I don't know whether you guys remember that or not, but that was kind of a funny joke. They never did, of course, so I'm still Brian Beamish. Anyway, I've basically said here, you take UBIC to new all-time highs. Look at that. I mean, it was like it was at $8 at the peak of that 1718 bull. If I change this from a log chart to a regular chart, whoa, look at that, crazy. You can't even see where we are now. So that's why half of the reason you got to look at it on a log chart. At least you can see where we are. So, I mean, you can see the BFF. So, it's what I do. This is, I've done this now for like 30, 35 years. It was interesting. Somebody asked me for audited statements, and I was like, how do you get an audited statement in crypto? I don't even think any of the big accounting firms even do auditing for crypto. This is like kryptonite to them. But anyway, so I'm an open book. And everybody on the site, I told everybody I stepped in on the long side. You can see I came in about a couple grand worth. We'll see how it goes. And like I said, the principles of the coin, as a special treat, they threw in an NFT for me. And the partner that I went in on this, he also got an NFT too. So we're now officially NFTs. And somebody even commented back, purple. Well, I never really fancied you as a purple hair kind of guy, Brian. But I basically said, look, you take this thing to new highs, and I will be more than happy to dye my hair purple. More than happy. So let's see. It would be really cool. And I even said, somebody like bookmark this. Let's do it publicly. I mean, you take this thing to new highs, and that $2,000 investment, it's going to be worth a hell of a lot of money. And actually, my whole sort of motivation out of this coming cycle is I really need to buy my son a house, right? You all know my story. He's, in government care right now. I don't want him, especially if I pass away, I don't want him living in some fucking government cubicle with government workers and stuff, all sort of, just if you've dealt with government, you know how government operates. It's a pain in the butt. So my big aspiration in life, and of course, Vancouver real estate is just stupid. And I will not go and get a mortgage because I don't want to be a slave to some bankster and pay like twice the price of the house, half of it just purely in interest. So I've just been saving every nickel and dime. And of course, I save money. I've got big Bitcoin holdings and stuff like that. And, if this thing does perform into this, even said that I'm thinking that this will probably peak into, and I don't know where I put it, into the 25, like the fall of 25 cycle. Where's one of these here? Yeah, here. I expect that in December 2025, if this thing is going to make a run at those old highs, that's when it's going to be. So please understand, anybody who's watching this, number one, I don't care whether you participate in this or not. There is no incentive for me to get you to buy this or not. I put my own money at risk, and that's where I'd leave it. My time horizon is forever on stuff like this. I mean, the interesting thing about this UBIC is they technically have a bridge. Uh, the market cap on this coin is ridiculously low. It's only like in the millions. I mean, some of these damn crypto stories, and it's billion-dollar stories. So the principles there, they're still hard at work on this thing. They did the NFTs and all that. There's Brian. They've got a whole bunch, they got the bridging and all that crap. So, and you go on the Discord channel, I mean, they are very, very active. So the guy that I actually went in on this with the deal here, he actually wants to go and start making a market for these guys. He's like, Jesus, we could make a fortune on this thing. So anyway, that's what I'm doing with my money. 2023, as I've said to you repeatedly, I believe 23 is your accumulation year. And, Mr. Benner, when he originally wrote this, of course, he didn't know what the hell a cryptocurrency would be. But basically, these are the years in his writing. This is the year when you buy your corner lots. So I've been repeatedly telling all of you that any kind of pullbacks, any kind of buying opportunities in this space are exactly that. They are buying opportunities. The message out of my mouth is exactly the same and will not change. And I think I've beaten that into the ground here. So I hope you guys appreciate that. Again, I mean, I do find it really interesting that this fall, especially if we go back and we look at things like Mr. Wyckoff's sort of market cycle, I like the idea of the market tanking here in the fall. And of course, this lines up perfectly with, if we get some sort of trough here in the fall of 2023, then that lines up really nicely. Especially, I think that this cycle actually looks a lot like the 12 to 16 cycle. And you notice there was this nice dip into the fall here. I think that you're going to see a market here through the summer that just bangs around all of this range, if you will. And of course, we talked about cost of production. I can't really see the cost of production going materially below these lows. If we're really lucky, then we're going to get some sort of panic dump. Here's September, October, like down like that. And of course, you're all going, oh, that's lucky. I don't want to see that. But I do like this kind of thinking into that October peak or trough, if you will. And of course, this lines up with 6 months ahead of the halving event. I've told you repeatedly, 78.6s. You don't know how many times I've seen markets bottom off of 78.6s. So I really do like that level. Was this a 78.6 tag? I don't know. So it's awfully close. And if anything, I'm almost led to believe that this was almost like keep in mind, this is a low from 22. So now, anybody who did seasonally do that buy, they've made some great money. Wall Street, anybody who pitched mutual funds or even any of the, I suppose, crypto proxies, Mara and stuff like that, I think they've actually done pretty well off their lows. I don't know. Maybe I won't go into too much about that. Maybe we might even look at that tomorrow in the daily brief and the after party and stuff. But Bitcoin itself, and of course, meme coins, the fact that they're rallying, that's a great anecdote for sort of a seasonal top coming into the market. So I'm a little bit leery about falling too in love with the market up top here. If anything, I wouldn't mind sort of May, June. We actually get a nice little pullback here. How deep it is, I don't know. In fact, actually, that's probably a great segue. So, how deep does the pullback have to be? Basically, you can see, and we talked about this lots. The horizontal support and resistance level of this inverted head and shoulders is basically about what, 26,000 roughly. Moving average support, 13 EMA, 200 SMA, same sort of thing, 25, 26. Collins pump chaser zone, probably actually better that we pull up this actual chart itself. There we go. So this zone here as sort of initial support zone, I really like that. 38.2s of this range, 25,000. 25,000 is a big fat round number, BFRN. That would make sense to see the market pivot off of that. Even if we do simple things like trend line support, you can see, in fact, actually, I wouldn't use this line here. But you can see even this longer term trend line, it's all the way down here. So, wicks and tails like to be eaten. There's a huge tail right there, and candle body lows for trade location. I can make a lot of justification thinking about where I would expect to see this market pull back into if a pullback does have to happen. You might even also argue too, it's not really the best pattern, but you might find over time, it's still going to have to take a few weeks to develop. But maybe we do something like pull back down into those lows. Then we have a counter trend rally that corresponds with that left shoulder. And that now creates a head and shoulders top. And, we go top there, down to there. And then we just clone that. And if this is some sort of head and shoulders, well, that takes us down into, again, I love this area as a short-term support area. So, through this May, June swoon, probably the best way to describe that, I like a pullback into this tail. This tail would actually be appropriate, eat some of that tail. Candle body lows for trade location, that would make a lot of sense to me. Then I think also too the 30 SMA on the weekly chart is right up in that area as well. Maybe not that one. Let's go this one. Yeah, there we are. So you can see 30 SMA on the weekly basis is basically those candle bodies. And you notice, last time we stabbed into that 30 SMA, we bounced off of it. So could we stab down into this level again? Bounce? Sure. I'm comfortable with that. We haven't broken yet, though. So that's still a little bit of ways away. If anything, and this is kind of a funny commentary, is that usually Bitcoin's not very happy on my birthday. Like I'll literally wake up year after year after year and Bitcoin's just getting its ass kicked. Maybe this year's the year where they say this time it's different. I don't know. But that's got to be a bit of a warning sign. If we So I think the most important message out of this weekly chart is maybe we've gone a little too far too fast. His price has doubled. Maybe we could use a bit of a pullback. 50% retracement of this move would be very healthy. And I suppose you could argue, what's your reload zone, right? Where are the institutions going to be reloading? Well, you can see that's down here. There's 30 SMA. Wicks and tails like to be eaten. Maybe what we should do, we'll keep Colin and his buddies on the chart. I like the idea of maybe we do something like stab into Collins levels here into the spring, then rally through the summer, then maybe some sort of play against these highs, and then your dump into the fall, like something like that. I love that thinking. That to me would be textbook. So, maybe somebody take a screenshot of that. I don't know. You can see that we did still have some upside objectives. And interestingly enough, as long as this low holds here, those upside objectives into the summer actually are still valid. So you might find that maybe, maybe we do dump into 50% levels. Maybe this is even a little deeper. We come down to 61.8 in through that spring pullback, wicks and tails like to be eaten, candle body lows for trade location, but we hold this low. And so as a result, maybe we even set a base where we can come up and top out something like that. Right? That's totally doable. Not out of the question in my eyes. Not really. In fact, actually, you know what? I kind of like that. We'll leave that on there. Something along those lines. So that's sort of what I see on a weekly basis. If we do get these dumps, I still definitely think that that's buying windows. And especially with everything that I talked about, Benner cycle, we haven't even talked about the money cycle. You know, the rising interest rate environment is slowly coming to an end here. It probably finishes through the second half of this year. And then we start talking about the Fed actually starting to cut rates, 6, 8, 12 months from now. And we get back into that environment. On the daily charts now, so this has been my major problem all along here, is we've got this weird megaphone that just keeps going and going and going. So this is where my main concern is. And this has been this past 8 weeks where yeah, we did rally. I mean, we rallied smartly off this level, but you could make the argument we have done absolutely nothing here for like literally now almost we're going to get into almost like 2 months of just going sideways. And of course, as you can see, here's our little megaphone reference, right? I'm a megaphone. Look at me. So the problem here, and this is also called an expanding wedge setup. And the problem here is that, if we lose the top of the megaphone, the target is the bottom of the megaphone, all the way down here. Now, I don't think that we actually do something like this. I think that actually we're probably over like here because usually these markets, especially like the stock market, and going back to, I don't think this has anything to do with Bitcoin, right? This guy here, right? I think it's all these guys, stock market people, right? This is a comment about risk. It's not really a comment about Bitcoin. Bitcoin happens to be a risk asset, but it's not a conversation about Bitcoin. Fuck me, look what time it is. All right, so just to wind this up, if we do start to fall apart, there's Colin and his pump chasers. It's interesting. There's a long-term trend line. There's a 2.618 off of this level. Notice that lines up with this trend line. There's that 50% level that I talked about. And then, like I said, if all hell breaks loose, maybe instead what this does, we might even find that what ends up happening here is we pull into Colin and his buddies that trend line 2.618, maybe put in some sort of divergence, set up a bottom coming out of June and into July, August. Hell, what we might do, which would be really scary, is we might turn around and rally right back up to this megaphone level again. I don't know how that sets up reload zones and stuff going forward. But I think just in the short term, if I was going to have an objective and sort of, remember I had said earlier to justify taking this double top, we want to see like 2-to-1s. So do we get that if we go short on some sort of M top here and we risk to new highs? Where do we have to see to get that 2-to-1? Well, that's all the way down here. So I don't know whether we're going to get that here. I could see something like this actually set up over here and into reload zones, and this becomes some huge top that sets up like a 2-to-1 over there. I could see something like that. So, I guess something like there, boom. I could definitely see something like that. If there's going to be a short trade here, ironically enough, it's probably going to have to be that some sort of M comes in right up in here. So could we see an M to maybe hunt? Notice that low there. If you actually draw like off a candle body low, so I'm going to plan to enter on a sort of a retest of that key level, and I'm going to risk just to a break of this M here if this does confirm. And then I shoot for my 2-to-1s. Notice that's going to take us basically right into Collins pump chaser zone, right into the midpoint of this megaphone, and basically right into this trend line support. Maybe the end result of this trade is, banging into this trend line. Turns out it's like a 2.5 to 1. I could see that. That actually makes sense to me. And you know what? That's what that trade is. And I actually put this tweet out a while ago. And if we do break, I think that's the trade. Let's see where I did that. I guess that's this one here, right? Nope, not that one. Where is it? Here it is. So here was the original tweet. And see, I really like, this is sort of my approach, is that we identify trade location. So we had 4.669s. We had, of course, top of megaphones, all that kind of conversation. So I think we have a half decent trade location. Of course, this did double off the bottom. So that in itself is also a good sales pitch for a trade location. You can see how market structure is setting itself up here. There's 50%. There's Mountain Man there. And interestingly enough, if we actually do a Foggenbaum off of this potential top, oh, look where 2.618 is. Interesting. So location sure looks interesting. And then we come down to our indicators. Oh my goodness, look at that divergence. Huge bearish divergence. Also confirmed bearish divergence. Holy crap. All we're missing is an M. And you got yourself a pretty kick-ass trade set up there. So that was put out back in May 1st. So that's, I guess, the better part of a week ago. So here is this the updated one? Oh, maybe this is the updated one. I don't know. Is this the older one? No. Okay. So 6 days ago, I put out that May 1st one, and I think that was there. Now notice, look how crisp this is forming up here. So now you can see if we go short off of that level, notice 2.618. That's a kick-ass trade location there. Mountain Man, there's 50% level. I like this as a trade. Then the interesting thing is like this is 2 to 1, this window here. So can you sell half of the position at 2 to 1? That's what this write-up is all about. Put your stop at scratch. And of course, if we do absolutely puke out, you can see 4.669s all the way down here at basically a test of the old lows. None of you want to see that. I think that's what happens this fall. So maybe we like pull back down into these levels, then rally back up, then an M, and then we dump into these levels. We'll see how it goes. Only time will tell. But I did find it interesting that, if I was going to hunt setups, there is a really good, and this is like a daily price chart now. There's a really interesting, huge daily short setup that's building on Bitcoin right now. The easy way, the absolute easiest way for them to get rid of all this is just go take out these highs. It's not that far away. They were ramping it up, and then all of a sudden, somebody came along and just pooped right on this thing. Just go and break it out. Break through the top here, and then all of this conversation about shorting M's and all that kind of stuff, it all just disappears. So to finish off this conversation, what does this look like on a lower time frame basis? And that, I won't get into the really lower time frames. I will say that I was hunting a short in here through the weekend, and I got chicken shit, and I didn't pull the trigger, which kind of bums me out, but there was a really cool little setup there. Anyway, here is the 4-hour chart. This is probably the lowest I really want to talk to you guys. It's interesting how we did have an algo buy signal here in crypto, and holy moly, this thing's been all over the map. We are slowly working our way higher here, but any kind of sign of weakness here, I could very easily see the algo roll over and say, get the hell out. So, just FYI, the algo is still long, which I do find kind of interesting. We are technically making higher lows, right? Higher low, higher low, higher low, higher low. But what I really want to see is higher high. Nope, that's a lower high. Higher high. Nope, that's a lower high. Higher high. Nope, that's a lower high. So what we really have here is we have this big wedge. And it's interesting how I drew this trapezoid. I think that's the name of this, but off of this trend line as support. And I remember when we were down here, we were kind of like, we really shouldn't be shorting this thing down here. That's just crazy. And sure enough, it was a pretty damn big rally. Do you remember we caught a short up top here and wrote it down? 2 to 1s got hit nicely on that short. That worked out well. I suppose you could have come back in on the buy side down here. I missed this long and I missed this long as well. I don't know. I think I have a mental bias here. Up top here, I don't really want to be a buyer. And actually, it was so difficult to just follow the algo and do what I was told. But nonetheless, yeah, see that. Thank you, sir. So I'm just winding up this, and then we'll move on to the Q&A, and then we'll do the raffle. There's the megaphone level now. So you can kind of see how we're slowly slipping away from that megaphone level. You can make an argument on a 4-hour basis that we actually already have an M top off of that megaphone top already working. And all these are is just counter trend rallies, like dead cat bounce rallies against the highs. So what I've basically told people, again, like I said earlier, if this thing is so bullish, all they got to do is just take it up here. Just go and clean these highs out. And hey, I'll switch back to bull very quickly. I got 1 low, I got 2 lows, I got 3 lows. Do we have some sort of bullish bot setup working? Maybe. It would be a very late cycle bull run. So I don't, I'm not holding my breath for it. But, follow the chalk marks. That's what I do. What I do see here is every time we get up into this 29, 30,000 area, somebody just keeps coming out and hitting this damn thing. And now look at all these wicks. Trap bull, trap bull, trap bull, trap bull. Does it make sense why the market keeps stalling out every time we get up into that area? All of these trap bulls are like, oh, thank God, get me the hell out of there. Right? And then the price dumps back down. And as I basically said in this 4-hour commentary, if this goes and puts in a big M here and we close below that level there, I think you put a fork in her. She'd be done. So we'll see what happens. Only time will tell, as they say. We are below the megaphone line. So any kind of bearish market structure below this line is a big fat sell signal. So it is kind of, what's that? Oh, thought I heard someone say something. So it is kind of interesting how we're not getting those M's yet. So somebody does not want this thing to break down right away. But if you get M's, now that we have this megaphone level given, we start getting M's in here, then those are actually outright sell signals. And that is this trade starting to really start to come alive. So there's your backdrop. Merry Christmas. Just had our big lunar event. And of course, we've talked about how market doesn't really act very well on the other side of FOMC events. We also had the lunar event. Remember last lunar event, we had FTX blow up. Last lunar eclipse. Last lunar eclipse prior to that, we had Luna blow up. So could we very easily have something? I mean, I did notice CZ with suspended Bitcoin withdrawals, and they were talking about how Bitcoin network is a bit suspicious right now. I don't know. I mean, I don't know what the hell is going to happen. I'm not in the business of predicting the future. What I will just simply say is I'm going to follow the chalk marks. If this does M out, then we've got ourselves a short setup to work. If this thing can somehow 1 low, 2 lows, 3 lows, if this thing can somehow W out here, then we're back in the bull camp. But I'm not holding my breath. In fact, what I would typically say is I am from Missouri. So top end of the range, bottom end of the range, whichever way we break out of here, that's going to dictate where I'm thinking going forward. And it's just that simple, folks. All right. Hopefully that gives you an idea what I think about the corn, and hopefully you can use that. Really, sadly, the message that I actually put out on Twitter and all that kind of stuff, I think is actually the way I would. Somebody would call me up on as a broker and say, okay, what do you think? Where do you think we're going to go? I really like this this one line. Where did I put it? Too late to buy, too early to sell. So we're kind of in no man's land right here. We're too expensive for you to come in on the buy side in earnest here in Bitcoin. But at the same time, too, I don't think, selling Bitcoins at 30 G's is really that wise of an investment decision. Especially if you just like bought in the 20s. That's like 50% return. I mean, it's okay, but it's not something like, holy crap, we're at the end of a long cycle. Everything's in bearish divergence. Big fat M's are working. You better get the hell out of there. Or you're going to get your lunch handed to you. So we're not in that kind of environment right now. If anything, I would actually, you see, and actually you don't really see it here, but remember we did green boxes are down here. You can see where red boxes are up here. We're kind of in no man's land right now. And as I said before, we said 30 SMAs, probably a pretty good buying window. Candle body lows for trade location. Wicks and tails like to be eaten. If we can get pullbacks down into reload zones down in here, I'd be more than happy to be a buyer. But right now, we're just stuck in no man's land. All right, there is your rant and summary of what I think about Bitcoin. Moving on to the AMA questions. There's only a couple, so that's good. Number one question says, greetings and salutations. All the best with the boy. Thank you very much. Love the positive karma and on this good Lord's Day. All right. I know it's a crypto show, but I would like a look at AAT, American Asset Trust. Oh, boy. I don't know. If you're a site member, I'm almost thinking that I like doing these on Mondays. And somebody had asked me last week to look at this ASR. And actually, I spent quite a bit of time. We did a very good review. And I think the person was really happy. So I'm kind of leaning towards I wouldn't mind doing this in the after party tomorrow. And just remember with Ubik, actually there's an expression about Brian that actually summarizes him perfectly. And this is why I don't want you to buy what I buy. Brian's usually right, but Brian is usually early. And if we have that May June swoon in crypto, I could very easily see this thing crap out, right? If I just draw trend lines off of this low, you could very easily find this thing trading down in here sometime in the middle of May, June, if the whole crypto market falls apart. So everybody understand that's, I'm not pounding the table for you to buy Ubik. I'm just telling you what I'm doing with my money. And Brian's usually right. And, that's a commentary on, holy crap, this thing, they're just giving it away. And there's tons and tons of money to be made to the upside. But Brian's probably early, and I am often early. So just be aware of that. Okay, as for stock market ideas, I can just quickly take a boo at this. We'll just see whether simply put, okay. Well, it's a weekly chart. You can see what letter of the alphabet is there. We could maybe tomorrow dig into the fundamentals and see if the share count is attractive and where insiders are long and all that kind of fun stuff. I would say there is a double bottom there. And, knee jerk, I always use the 50% rule as sort of your keep it simple, stupid target. And also, too, wicks and tails like to be eaten, candle body highs for trade location, previous market structure. You also notice, too, there's a nice gap right there. Gaps on weekly charts like to be filled, right? You could have argued as this thing was pushing up here, you look back and go, there is that gap there. 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 Oh, those will never be filled in. Right, Janet or whatever the fuck her name is. Granny said we're never going to have a recession again. So the market will never come down and fill those gaps in. Yeah, right. Boom. There you go. So this also works on the same on the upside. So like I said, gap. There's also a gap there. There's also a gap there. So if this thing's for real, doesn't go bankrupt, got some value to it. Like I said, maybe we'll do the fundamentals tomorrow. Just your simple technical view, especially if I do things like trend lines. The rule is, of course, we want to see a market structure on the other side of trend line. So, based on this topping pattern, is this high higher than this high? Let's see. 39.20 and 39.10. Yep, so it is. So, based on market structure, I would say there's your primary trend line. Do you want to try and play this dead cat bounce into that trend line resistance? That's 18 and that's 24. Yeah, you're not quite going to get a double. Also, too, that's 18 and 28 is the 50% rule. I would expect this to be traded to down the road. But again, it's not a double. So it's probably not something I'd be too interested in. It'd be interesting to look at the fundamentals and, what kind of dividend are they paying? My hunch is for now, this asset is stuck in this trading range. There, maybe even along there, right? Maybe that trend line is support right there. So there's your trading range for the time being, whoever's asking for this. And kind of like what we showed you on Bitcoin, same thing, that 4-hour chart. If we can get our butts back above this trend line, this next will become your playground. So those are the two trading ranges I think that are at work right now. It's a little bit bothersome that we did trade to new lows here. That's not a good sign. And it might be difficult. I mean, what you might find is that we go there to there. What business are these guys in? And interesting, right? 1, 2, 3. That looks to me like a pretty valid trend line. Which means that you actually might find that we just stall out here. And my hunch is that actually the market's working with this trading range right now, there to there. So if we go reload zones and others, man, what a surprise. 38.2 is that old trend line there. So in a weird sort of way, I actually think that we also have a nice little trading range here now. That goes something like there to there to there. So there's your trading ranges. I suppose if you said, well, Brian, I buy W's. So I'm more than happy to go in and buy this asset and risk to new lows. And that's my risk window. And if we fail here, then I'm gone. Like to see 2-to-1 risk rewards. Notice that 2-to-1 is 50%. Oh, no, I beg your pardon. No, it isn't. It is Mountain Man. So I think what's going to happen here is you're probably going to run up into this line as resistance. Then you'll pull back, and then maybe if things still a bull, we'll punch up into that level there. Then maybe we have to do like reload zones of this range, which probably brings us back down into here. And then we'll find out whether this thing's for real down the road. Like it looks to me like there's some sort of major level here at about 21 bucks. So at 18 and change, I mean, it's not something that's going to, get me to do anything in particular technically. You might look at like a leap option. You might be able to jazz your returns with leaps. But as it stands, just straight stock ownership wise, there's not enough money in there for me to be made. It's what, 10, maybe 20% for a move up top here. And then once we bang into this downtrend line, all bets are off, right? Because this downtrend line also corresponds with that low there, that market structure low. Looks like the market tried to bottom off of that level previously. And hell, I suppose you could even make the argument that that's also a market structure level in there. And that's sort of coming up against that 38.2 area. So there's a bit of a slog. A weekly chart, Now, there is your risk window. There is your double bottom. It's probably not a name I'd be interested in. There's just not enough money to be made here. And you are staring at just the nastiest looking top there. So, take it for whatever it's worth. What I will do is let's add this to the list and we'll circle around tomorrow and we'll take a look at the fundamentals and see what the story is. We might find we pull it up. It turns out it's in the banking sector. It owns a bunch of these regional banks. And if that would be the case, then I'd be like, you know what? Probably best just to leave this thing alone. Most people that try to catch a falling knife in this game, they often get stuck. Okay, so I'll leave the TA at that for today. We'll circle around and do FA tomorrow. Okay, hi Brian, level 1 videos. You mentioned that OBV can even be negative. Yeah. Could you provide us with an example of negative volume? Well, really all you got to do is look for a downtrending market. I wouldn't even be surprised if this has negative OBV. Let's just see. Boom. Whoa, so nope, this thing is still positive, so that's good. Maybe leave that with me. I versus me just pulling up assets, trying to find something that is negative. Maybe I'll do that after I come back from Liam tonight. It's interesting too. Also looking at this one, I don't see any bull divs. Look at that, 12 bear divs. Oh boy. And only one bull div, and I don't even know when the heck that was. That was way back here. So this is an example of negative OBV, but I could probably find you one. The bond market, that might be interesting to see whether that went negative OBV. What's these numbers? Oh, still positive. Yeah, maybe leave that with me. I'll look tonight. See if I can find something for you to chew on. Okay, 1247. So, didn't really answer these questions thoroughly. Chris, if you could remind me, we'll circle around. We'll take a look at these in earnest in the after party show tomorrow. Thank you, sir. All right. Now, oh, this was yours, Sean? They own a building in San Francisco and San Diego. Yeah. What's funny is I think that there's a power play going on with the commercial real estate industry. They're going to try and make it break. They're going to try and create some sort of panic. And then all of a sudden, I don't know whether you're aware, everybody watching this. And if you did like the broadcast today, please hit the like button, subscribe, ring our bell, all that kind of stuff for notifications. But FYI, there is no sickness anymore. It's gone. So does that mean in the next few months, you're going to have this, now that everybody's relocated back home and everybody's working out of home and nice and comfortable in there, you're going to get mandates from, and of course, commercial real estate's on its knees. Do we get like commercial real estate to puke out here? And that's sort of one of the causes for this market meltdown here that we're all anticipating, especially this buddy here. Could be. That wouldn't surprise me. And how ironic, all it's doing is it's just feeding into, well, the public is going to sell all their public real estate or, commercial real estate holdings. And they're just going to be selling them into the smart money, the 1% that's going to buy everything up at the bottom. And then all of a sudden, you're going to see this great sort of, we all are collectively going back to the offices to work. Because after all, now the sickness is yesterday's story. What sickness? There's no sickness. You got a vaccine and your body's all messed up because of the vaccines? Tough shit. Too bad. Yeah, you trusted us, suckers. Yeah, that's the way it is. So, interesting. And I even saw people on Twitter and stuff saying, for the people who didn't get those vaccines and stuff, are you going to officially apologize to them for making their lives hell now that there is no sickness anymore? It turns out it's all over and it was just fluff. Whatever. Don't want to open up that can of worms, I suppose. But okay, so let's see if we can actually make a positive change in somebody's life here. Here we go. You ready, folks? As I said, this is all about our school term. the level 1 program starting. Well, we have quite a few people who put their name down. And basically, if you and the message has been, if you did go and actually buy this school program and you won, then we will credit you back. But long and short of it here is every single term we like to give away a seat for the education program. So this is our way of sort of karmically giving back to the world. We do have some people that just put really short names on. So obviously, somebody who says their name is G or J or something like that. I did see something. Hopefully, I think in the back office we have emails associated with everybody's name. So if I say G or something like that, then whoever it is that broke G, they gave us their email, and we'll let them know. So without further ado, I don't know whether we have a drum roll. I don't think we do, but maybe I'll do one. Here we go. We will click the button, and I think it makes a funny noise, but here we go. Who's going to win the raffle? Oh, it's so quiet. And the winner is Harak. Way to go, Harak! Congratulations, Harak. You have what? 24 hours to call into the radio station. How does that go? Me, that's you. Newer production? Hey, way to go. All right. Somebody won. Harak won. So, I don't know whether Josh is in the call here with us, but I think he has the list of participants. So, we will, somebody lost and they're like, I'm out of here. So, way to go. Oh, no. Okay. Well, newer production gave us a head fake. Anyway. So, congratulations, Harak. Get in touch with us. You are the big winner this term. Way to go. All right. Maybe we'll take a screenshot of that. And maybe we'll put a tweet out to that effect. All right, folks. I think we'll probably leave the broadcast at that, simply because it seems like a good note to end on. If you are interested and your name isn't Harak, come on down. This is a 12-week program. At this price point, geez, it's like less than $100 a week. And every single week is a brand new learning module. Like I said, we'll spend the first part of the level 1 just trying to teach you how to build a plan to run a small business of trading. Then the second half of level 1 is to teach you some basic setups. One setup, I call it the El Tangonator. Location, indicator, confirmation, price structure, go. And then the other setup that I teach you is trend continuation, the bot. 3 higher lows, again, trade location, 33 to 66% retracement. Indicator confirmation, if you want to use indicators to validate the bot, Grim, for instance, our level 1 instructor, he insists that we have indicator confirmation in the bot when he takes the bot trades. And then, price structure, 3 higher lows, 25% level. So the point here is that right out of the gate, we will spend about a month and a half teaching you about how to build your plan for your business and give you just a basic overview of capitalism and how we play this game. And then the second part of level 1, we teach you a couple key concepts, location tools, indicator confirmation tools, price structure tools to help you build setups. And I think it's an excellent sort of basis for everybody in the market to work from. So, all right, have yourselves a fantastic rest of your day. Of course, please maybe take a moment and just say a karmic good luck with Liam. Best wishes on the road. Safe driving, Brian. I actually do think it makes a difference, believe it or not. And as I said, I will go do my my full-time job now, trying to be a parent to a special needs son. And pop on the site tomorrow. We'll maybe do a deeper dive into these questions, and really sort of give you a rational analysis of AAT. And then, as I said, this evening I'll hunt around, see if I can show you an example of negative volume flow. And hint, 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 it's probably an absolute train wreck of a chart. So be aware of that. All right. Have yourselves a great rest of your day. PMA for the win. Don't think I have anything else left to say to you guys. So all the best. Don't take no wooden nickels. Remember what your number one job is. I suppose the last thing we should probably do is leave you. What does our crypto breadth look like? Remember, I've told you before, pullbacks, I think, are buying opportunities, and 5s and 6s are that kind of environment. So the algo and the system is still, interestingly enough, bullish. But the only concern I have is, do I really want to buy inflated prices? Or would it be better just to cool your jets and wait for some sort of, panic by Joe Sixpack and the public and then go in and buy? So leave that up to you. All right. Have yourselves a great day. All the best. And bye for now.